Hello there, my name is James and this is going to be the most generically generic top 10 list that will ever be conceived on my top 10s list. My top 10 favourite games of 2015. Because no one else is probably going to do that kind of list. Hey. Some rules I need to clarify here. No remasters or remakes with an exception of one. These are games that I have finished start to end. And there are games that I have not finished yet, so if there's not a game that is not on this list, it's either I haven't played it, or I didn't like it. So sorry. Speaking of which, considering it's my top 10, you write down your favourite games of this year down in the comments below, because you know we all have various opinions, of course. And finally, this isn't a professionally critiqued list on gameplay and presentation and all that jazz. This is just based on a James fun factor level. So let the countdown commence. You think I'm joking? Well, I'm not. I'm serious. Snoopy's Grand Adventure is a surprisingly great time. It's a simple 2D platformer where you play as Snoopy along with Woodstock to collect jelly beans, scout beagles, and rescue the Peanuts crew. Simple enough indeed. I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but this is one of the best cheap cash grab movie tie-in games I've played. The level design is surprisingly well done. There's some fair and decent challenge for younger gamers and it encapsulates the charm of the Peanuts with both the way it looks and by the sound design and music. Not to forget Snoopy's animation, so freaking adorable! The power-ups are pretty cool, the aerial sections are awesome if not for the rat-a-tat-a effect alone, and overall, it's a basic collectathon game which anyone can get into. I was so surprised of how good it was after pulling it from the shelf and putting it in my console. But the reason why Snoopy is ever so low on the list is because of its length. It's 2 hours or less to finish, 5 hours tops if you're completing it. So I kind of wanted more out of my purchase. Because of that, I can't just say buy it immediately, it's worth every dollar. No, I can only recommend a rent or a massive sale of $15 tops. But what's delivered in the package is definitely delightful and charming. Adults, listen here. This game is a good start for your young kid getting into video games. Dun 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 dun. I'm gonna get killed for this. Listen here before you lose your marbles, dear MGS5 fans. I'm a mega fan of the franchise. 1 to 4, love them. Peace Walker, great stuff. I've played nearly everything Metal Gear except for Metal Gear Acid and the Game Boy version. I thoroughly enjoyed each one I played. MGS5, I was playing for 20 hours and having the time of my life. This was going to be my game of the year. I could feel it in my body, the amount of detail and scale, size, and absolutely stunning complex gameplay mechanics that work to a charm. The soundtrack and musical score would definitely be vinyl record worthy, and Kojima Productions thought of everything towards each item, set piece, and cranny to this delicious pie. Also, that intro sequence was sublime. Then it got to the stage of doing missions that were pretty much the same objectives, and I kinda felt tired halfway through. Now, with the exception of a couple memorable main briefings that were major highlights of the narrative, there was the filler. Fun filler, but repetitive and boring on the same plank. Not even the hip 80s songs like Kids in American Rebel Yell helped after hearing those tracks hundreds of times. I'm not gonna go against Kojima and his team, because for what we got at least, was good. Though you can feel the grubby hands smearing prints on that disc and corrupting their art. You should know the background behind this game's creation and the sweating bullets being fired during that process of time, I guess you can go and thank Konami for that, but I'm going from what we got. And it's pretty good. As a matter of fact, it's really good. Even if I wanted more story, especially from the ending and the missions being quite repetitive over time, I gotta say for the majority, I had plenty of entertainment. And hey, it made my list. You know how I mentioned the one remaster that made this list? Well, here it is, Tearaway Unfolded for the PS4. I'm gonna be 100% honest. I have not played the original Tearaway on the PlayStation Vita simply because I don't own a Vita. I heard about Tearaway and its paper-crafted world and interactivity between you and the game. I would have gotten into it, but Vitas cost a fortune, you know. I put it aside, and when info spread of Tearaway coming to the PS4, I knew my time to shine upon this interesting title by Media Molecule needed to become one of my collection. Did it disappoint? No. Otherwise it wouldn't have made the list. And oh my, is it a breathtaking experience. It's very much so a great family game that I would recommend highly. I love the atmosphere, the colours and vibrancy, the creativity cropping is good, even though the touchpad is a bit iffy to use. You can ride a pig, the music is wonderful, and I admire the interactivity between you and the game, with or without the PlayStation camera. What kind of drops it down low is that in some parts it kind of drags on in certain levels. The combat section isn't too great, although I did like the mechanics and implementation of the touchpad and light bar sensor on the controller. I really hated those goddamn gopher escort objectives. They're optional, but for those completionists out there, those will burst your bubble of fun just a notch. But aside from that, put this on your list of things to buy if you own a PS4. And if you're considering on purchasing a PS4, then get this as a part of your collection. Titan Souls caught me off guard by surprise when I was browsing through the PlayStation Store specials. I paid for it, tried it out, immediately died and knew what kind of game it was, so I left it untouched for about 3 months. Then I decided to come back to it, remembering it was in my library, and holy hell, I became attached with it after beating that hard in the slime boss. I felt really good after defeating that creature, the feeling I hadn't felt since... Alright. It was a satisfying victory, and that's what this game grants you. Satisfaction when surpassing each obstacle, which are challenging bosses that each contain a puzzle towards defeating them. But then there's the ones that are taken out within seconds due to pure skill or luck. The pixel art style is luscious and lends us some lovely classic ruins, temples and forests, not to forget the buttery smooth motion of the controls and fast getting back into action loading times. Believe me, only you can blame yourself for your mistakes. If you don't like really difficult games, then don't play this. You'll probably eat your console and spit it out. This game is for the people who like an old school challenge, and it's a sure treat to check out. How the hell could I not resist putting this on my list? Look at it! Everything is made of yarn, it all looks so gorgeous, oozing with style and character. Yoshi and the rest are so adorable that you would love to carry one of those yarn Yoshi amiibos wherever you go, but they're probably still in their boxes, aren't they? Come on. Let them free. Let them out of their boxes, out of their slavedom. Let the yarn Yoshis go. I could praise the sun with this game. It's really entertaining for starts, with a nice, fair and consistent challenge for young and old. The controls are tight and never feel outrageously wonky whatsoever. I love the little yarn power sections with the bike, umbrella and whatnot. It's adorable, the music is fantastic stuff. I could hum and whistle to that stuff all day. But most of all, when a game gives you a warm feeling, like drinking a nice hot cup of chocolate in the morning before the start of your adventurous day, then I say congrats. You've made a spot in my list. If you're ever considering on buying a Wii U, I can officially say to buy this game. You won't regret it. Oh, what's this? A JRPG series that I leap for in stores? Heh, why is this on my list? Or better yet, why in the middle if I love this series so much? Quite simply, I have played better in the franchise. Xillia, Symphonia, Vesperia, Graces F, you name it. There's more to it though. I find the camera during battle can be a pain in tight spaces, which brings me to the fact that instead of whooshing into a big battle area like the ones beforehand, the battle is restricted in the open world that works fine, but not so much in the dungeons and towers. That leads me to the dungeons and towers. Most of them suck, downright painful to saw through and go on for way too long than they need to. In the end though, because I finished it, I reflect more on the good than I do the bad. Tales of Zestiria was one of my most hyped games of 2015, more than Metal Gear Solid 5, and of course, it was a day one release purchase from me. One question you will ask is, why do I like the franchise? Apart from the combat battle system, I'm a sucker for the gathering a group of strangers who then grow attached to each other and gain the courage and confidence to battle the bigger entity that will plan to conquer kingdoms and worlds cliché. I guess that pretty much sums it up. I enjoyed this journey with Saray and his crew to defeat the hybrid of Goldar and evil Aslan from Narnia. Was there a lot of character development? It was there. Not as much as I wanted, but I was immersed. The adventure, doing all the main and side quests, battling the awesome creatures, exploring about the open yet near barren world, the amazing soundtrack, and not to forget the intro. Goosebumps every time, man. Tales of Zestiria was a grand 50 hours that I don't regret spending on. Okay, this game is difficult to describe, let alone just talk about. And from the look on your face, you've probably never seen or heard this before. Nubla. Nubla, Nubla, Nubla? Nubla. Yeah, Nubla is a sort of educational game. There's collecting pieces, completing simple puzzles yet complex in design, and a lot of walking. Alright, there's more to it. So you know, Nubla was a creative project for the education of the Feisenborn Museum, and Sony collaborated with a developer studio called Gamera Next from Spain to create an educational project. It involved more than 50 young people that put their contributions in aspects such as design, illustration, programming, scripting, composing music, or game mechanics development. The background behind it all is very interesting, I'll say, and me, I just found it randomly on the PlayStation Store without knowing a bloody thing about it. I played it, an hour later I finished it. Usually I brag about the amount of hours implemented into the experience, but it felt compact and tight and it didn't need to flesh out much more. Nubla did what it had to do, and that was teach me. Not spilling with dialogue, but with scenic visuals and historic paintings. I'm not going to ruin much if you're interested, but simply put it, you play as either a boy or girl and are the destiny of this museum that has lost all its paintings. That's but a side objective, for your main goal is to get to Nubla. What'll make you steer away from this title is that it's not really a game, but an interactive experience with light puzzles, secrets, and a simplistic story to follow that doesn't need to be complex. From what I got out of it, I looked up the website for Feisenborn Museum and expanded upon the historical information that was in the game. I know what your question is though. What the hell is Nubla? Well, it's an elephant with daddy long legs. I can't make that stuff up. The Bronze Award goes to Walking Simulator 2015. Nah, I'm kidding. It goes to Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not very impatient with video games unless the pacing of the narrative drags for too long, I can't skip a cutscene I've already seen for the 10th time, or the game is bad in general. Time for a little story, I guess. When my uncle plays a video game, he always takes his time to look at everything that was created. It could be a small fork in a large open world game. He'll treat it like a delicacy towards the environment which has been made. And I can follow in his footsteps with that. I remember playing Red Dead Redemption, taking my greatest time in the West, taking in the atmosphere. The same can be taken here. I know lots of people didn't enjoy the walking factor, but I kind of took pleasure in looking around the beautifully crafted representation of Shropshire. I enjoyed the flow of the story, the little niche things. The graphics can't be talked badly upon. I swear, I took this game like an expedition. When I'd see some wonderful scenery for a postcard, I'd snap a picture with the share button. I took a lot of them. And the last thing I want to mention is the music. I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. Jessica Curry, I love your score so much that I bought it separately and I listened to it nearly every night after a Sting session. The music alone sold this game for me, and not to forget, the exclusive dynamic theme with the windmill is amazing. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is an experience that I shan't be forgetting anytime soon. The Witcher 3. I know, it's an obvious choice, so I'll be brief. The story and choices along with the presentation visually and audibly are the main ingredients of this savoury pie. Not only that, with a seasoning of open world and some added spice into the swift fighting mechanics, which isn't everyone's favourite, it all gives the flavour a good kick to the taste buds. And oh boy, what a delicious pie. I could ask for more of it, which is why they released little party pies as a bonus and a few expansions to their recipe for the later future so we don't drool for a slight nibble. Even then, the effect leaves a great impact. Months afterward, the taste lingers in memory. What a great game. You're hungry now, aren't you? There were a lot of games that didn't make the list, so I'll just give a couple of honorable mentions here. Bloodborne. Bloody difficult. But it's a nice strong cup of tea that leaves me wanting for more until I die over and over again over a bloody big ass spider with little legions of spiders. Seriously, I hate that boss. That's the reason why I'm stuck. I can't surpass the spider. Even though it didn't come out this year, I still want to bloody mention it, and that is Dragon's Fury for the Sega Mega Drive. This is an amazing pinball game with a lot of awesome, epic music, effects, and goddamn difficult gameplay. And it's simply one of the best console pinball games I've ever played in a long time. Check it out if you can find it. Super Mario Maker is definitely for those people that have the creative minds. Although I don't have the major of creativity when it comes to level design, I will say that I did play a fair amount of other people's levels, and oh my, the creativity is off the charts, and I love it. I still need to play more of it. I didn't play too much of it. I played about, say, 3 hours, but these holidays, definitely gonna play some more of this. 3/4 Home. I'm not gonna spoil the story at all, but all I'll just say is that you drive a car and a narrative unfolds over a phone call. That's all I'll say. And here's a list of the games that I didn't play. Yes, Undertale, I know. I haven't gotten a chance to play it yet, but over the things I've heard about it and how good it is, I bought it on Steam the other day, and I will definitely check it out. Okay then. On to my number one. Until Dawn. I feel as if I've talked about it before. Meh, must have been a dream. Anyway, Until Dawn took me by surprise more than anything else this year. I wasn't expecting anything grand. I heard of it, saw some brief gameplay footage and looked the other way. To me, it looked like a Quantic Dream horror game, and I'm not the greatest fan of their games, although I can understand if you love their stuff like Heavy Rain. So one day, I went to town and saw it on the shelf and figured, hey, why the hell not? Fast forward to the dead of night, with a set of headphones on and the lights off, and I was entirely engrossed into this game from start to finish. Completely captivated, I was scared. I felt afraid of losing a character, excluding one. Excuse me, I had a bug in my throat. I kept my body still as a rock and my eyes on the ball with the don't move and quick time event sections, so when my first playthrough was done and my results at the end were okay, not perfect, I wanted to play it again, and again, and again, and again, to the point where I completed the game, collected all the clues, totems, and kept all the characters alive. I put true dedication of time with Until Dawn, and I feel like I got my money's worth. What amazes me is that they made such a cliche horror idea just by the character traits alone, and made a fresh turn on horror gaming. I could talk more and extend this out as a single video alone, but I'll keep it at ease. Is this game perfect in my eye? Hell no! No game is. The reason it's number one is because I had the utmost fun playing it. Not only that, but the replay value was tremendously high. So those were my top 10 favorite games of 2015, and what a marvelous year it has been if we forget about and dissolve the bad practices that peeked about all over the place. So, 2016. We should be looking forward to that game lineup in the future. But there's one job that you need to do, and that is to give me your favorite games down in the comments below, because my top 10 list is just personal opinion, but yours is too. So expect more top 10s in the near future, for my name is James, and oh yes, January 1st. Oh my god, facts. On the $1 bill, there is an owl in the upper left-hand corner of the 1 and a spider hidden at the upper right. That means Jack Squadly Dick to me.